I would go ahead and call this meeting to order and ask for approval of the agenda, which you should have.
I'll make the motion.
Motion from Sammy, second from Ben, thank you. Moving on to public comment. Hearing none. New business, budget update. Andrew.
And so Nicole's actually going to be giving our budget update as kind of the new financial, mind behind the DDA, obviously with the help of Carmen still. But she'll take the lead on this budget update.
All right, so I have printed off a budget. Everyone should have gotten a copy of it. Manistee County cash, we had $8,455 spent in the downtown area alone. January to November, it includes Small Business Saturday. This does not include Sleigh Bell Weekend. 10,330 was issued from January to the most recent when I printed the report, December. There is still a total of 39,295 out to be captured. We have a total of 30 businesses in the program. 19 of them are in the downtown area. We have the Downtown Dollars program, which is still listed under expenses, under advertising. This program will expire December 31st, 2025. Current leases we have, the Executive Director Service Agreement for $80,000. I believe that's set to expire December 31st, 2026. The West Shore Community College lease agreement is for $20,000. That one doesn't expire until I think 2045. And then the DDA Economic Development Agreement for $20,000, which is, I think, December 2026 as well. Miscellaneous income, we have Michigan class interest and bank interest. The specific miscellaneous income where you see the $10, that comes from permit agreements. So outdoor sidewalk permits, stuff like that. TIF is based off payments received from the city. Delinquent taxes come out in February. So after February 28th, taxes are considered delinquent. The DDA receives a portion of those from the city. The Local Community Stabilization Authority share, it was an act passed in 2014. It helps local governments recover money they lose when personal property taxes decrease. It provides payments to cover costs of operating and debt-related taxes and supports businesses when they invest a certain amount in manufacturing equipment. Advertising, under there we have social district supplies, the Eagle 101 partnership, which did expire in October. Future uses would be banners for the downtown area if we need to replace social district banners, if the DDA will take part in window clings for some downtown businesses. There is currently 9,000 left in advertising. We will need to purchase more stickers coming up and stuff like that. The downtown decorations are flowers and planters, the spring and fall, which have come from Wheezy's in the past. For this next spring, we will be getting quotes from Wheezy's, our Field of Dreams, and Orchard Market. Winter decorations are the garlands and bows from Lutz Farms that are out currently. The DDA events trailer came out of this line item. The ice skid melt was placed under this. That purchase was $1,508.82 for that first load for the downtown area. There is $19,000 left in that line item. The annual audit is Anderson and Tackman, which, Bill, correct me if I'm wrong, the city did sign a 5-year agreement with them. So we'll be with them for the next 4 years now. Let's see, and then we have the Riverwalk Plaza, which that will be coming to fruition shortly. So we just have that on our budget. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Nicole. Well done.
I'd just like to make a comment. Just something to take a look at is just we're at the halfway mark of the year. So just looking at, the remaining fund and how we want to use those funds for the remainder of the year. And to just be thinking about if there's anything, if there's anything that we need to budget for or, look at allocating those funds for. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to, thank you both. Moving on to development and TIF plan review.
Absolutely, so you should have the TIF plan in that packet, and I just want to draw your attention to page 12, where it outlines estimated cost and phases of improvement. This document as a whole gives us our direction and outlines what our projects are going to be over the 20-year lifespan of our TIF district. And so one of the first items that we have is the Riverwalk, and within that, there are several items such as facade and deck grants, dock installation and maintenance, conceptual plans and pre-development studies, Riverwalk capital improvements, and then the West Shore Community College Riverwalk Plaza. So those were all programs that were outlined within our TIF plan that we should be kind of promoting, executing. Obviously with the facade and deck grant, that's almost combined into our facade program. I know my predecessor really used that MEDC grant to promote that element of it, promoting deck expansions and improvements on certain downtown businesses, particularly restaurants. So if we can just keep that in mind, going forward in the coming years, that's not a separate facade program. That is something that we can bake into our existing facade program, but that line item is $400,000 over the course of our TIF. So we're kind of on track for that. And then just note that obviously we have budgeted for the Riverwalk Plaza on the West Shore Community College Plaza. The next slide item, the gateway to downtown, and that's really streetscape improvements for that 31 River Street intersection with the gateway project taking place. That's, I wouldn't say null and void, but it's something that due to the improvements that are expected there, that is really kind of our role to most likely financially contribute in the way of approving the brownfield for that, because that's what's going to encapsulate a lot of those River Street and streetscape improvements that are kind of outlined within this item in project line here in the TIF plan. And for the intersection enhancements and placemaking, it's $200,000, and then update and refurbishment of streetscape, it's just under 1.5 million budgeted for that over the course of our 25 or 20 years. The next item is redevelopment projects, and the only line item here is land acquisition, and we've put $500,000 for land acquisition. And so this is kind of pointing to, if a property comes up on River Street, we have the ability to purchase that property and be able to help redevelop that, whether that's just packaging it and then putting it back on the market and being really strategic with who the buyer is going to be. That's something that we do have the ability to do, and that's important to note because many of you might not think that we have the ability to go buy property and package it. As a government entity, it can feel a little weird being able to do that, but that is something that we specifically have listed, and if we want to get that aggressive, we absolutely can, and I would love to, I would love to be able to do something like that in the coming years, if the right property comes up to market and we want to see a specific property have some change on it in River Street.
And just to reiterate, it does not have to be on River Street.
No, it doesn't. Yeah,
And
sorry.
the DDA
It could be in the DDA overall. Thank you, Kyle. That's
right.
That's a fantastic point. Downtown building programs, that's where our facade grant program's listed. The West Shore Community College facade enhancements, and then the rental rehabilitation program. And that last item in that kind of umbrella of downtown building programs, that rental rehab program, we currently don't have anything for that. That is something that we might want to start intentionally thinking about. How can we support downtown housing?
We already did with the TIF.
With the TIF we have, but it's more so if we wanted to do something that's more directly like a facade program, that's something I would love to see. But then we have the gap financing, but then if we were also able to add another program on top of that where it was some type of second story incentive for housing, where it was a reimbursement, but rather than over the course of several years, it would be a one-time, hey, give me your invoices, kind of like what we do with the facade program.
If we have the available
Yeah,
cash.
right, exactly. But I mean, that would be us having to go get grant funding and things like that to materialize that program. But that's just an interesting program outlined in our TIF plan that hasn't really materialized. And then the promotion and marketing events is another item. So just keep those kind of activities in mind. And the only other piece I want to highlight in this document is down on page 23 where it has our projected taxable evaluation, in which and then also 24 in which it kind of shows our expected capture. They use the assumption of growth, in taxable growth of 0.25%. We are currently $100,000 above our anticipated capture for this year, given the growth in real estate values over the last 2 years.
How does that compare to the end year in that TIF?
Come again?
How does our current year taxes
Yep,
compare?
so
to
again, the TIF revenue from here is $355,000, and in our TIF plan, it's only $246,000 for this year. So again, it was almost $100,000 more, and you can kind of attribute that to probably the extreme growth in real estate values over the course of the last couple of years in the real estate market, so.
We talked about this last year. How much was the estimate off last year?
I would have to look back on last year's. Again, with this budget year item, with the total income for the tax or TIF revenues being 317, and then here it's 246. So $90,000 difference there, Bruce. So that's all for a TIF development plan. Just moving forward, keep those projects in mind. If we're not doing something, how can we create a program that can achieve that, especially with like the rental rehabilitation program? So just keep those in mind moving forward throughout the year, but I think we're in a good spot with a lot of those programs. We've kind of touched a lot of those projects so far, and that'll especially be true once we really materialize the streetscape project.
The TIF plan's a roadmap that we set out to kind of keep us on track.
Yep.
It's helpful to refer to it often, refer back to it. Okay, moving on to financial policy.
Sure, so the financial policy, we put it in front of you last meeting and got some feedback. Sammy, thank you for those inputs with bad debt and the conflict of interest edition. We did have a conflict of interest statement within our bylaws, but to have that specifically stated in the financial policy was very, very useful. Just going through that, going through this kind of briefly, the first 2 pages are really outlined things within our bylaws, more or less, that are kind of like we're required to blank, and that it's kind of required within the bylaws that we do that, and that it's listed within the financial policy. Also, Carmen or Nicole, feel free to hop in with the financial policy if there's anything in particular that you want to put out there. Something to highlight is the handling of payments and funds on the 3rd page. That does outline kind of the executive director and treasurer are the only ones who can sign checks. That's not necessarily true within the way we operate. So I don't know if there would be a want to change there to kind of make that more aligned with kind of how we actually do things, because Kyle, you're able to sign checks. It's not just the treasurer, and so.
Yeah, only the executive board can sign checks, and we need 2 signatures on all checks, and that is not the way the handling of payments and funds is written in our bylaws. And because we would have to go change bylaws, I don't know if we have to wait until July when we review them again, or if we can open it back up and look at them, but.
You can recommend a change, this board can vote, and then they can change it.
I think we should recommend a change because that's what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
The section following that really outlines, reimbursement for travel related to the DDA. I just wanted to note that, if I do anything like the Michigan Downtown Development Association of Michigan's conference, that's going to be in the form of, it has to kind of come before the board, sign check. I can't use any kind of board card or DDA card directly for travel-related expenses. Just kind of want to make that known that if I do have any expense reimbursement, it does come before you, more or less. It has to get a signed check. So wanted to make that known. Our purchase approval levels, please take note of that, which, we really only have the ability to pay up to $2,000 in any specific good without board approval. And I know, that can kind of, when we talk about buying stickers and what have you, that was kind of one of those things where not only was it our card limits, but also that policy only allows us to stockpile so much before we have to get board approval in our regular operations. Just take note of those limits, please. Nicole, is there anything else in particular within our financial policies that you would like to highlight? Some of the changes Nicole made was removing the DDA standing committees, changed that to ad hoc committees to make it, again, better align with what we're actually doing.
And I think that should, because in our bylaws, it refers to subcommittees,
Yeah.
not ad hoc, so I think we should change the terminology
Yeah.
for subcommittees.
Yeah, absolutely. So you look to policy 16 where we've added that bad debt policy that Sammy recommended. So if you could just review that and kind of make sure that that's in line with what you wanted it to be. Do you have anything to add with how the creation of that bad debt policy and?
I just kind of looked around at other governmental entities and tried to find what they had.
So if there's any feedback, just let us know on that bad debt policy so we can make the proper adjustments and kind of keep the ball rolling on that. And then we've also added policy 17, which is that conflict of interest. And that comes from the bylaws. And it is stated that, if there is a conflict of interest, that board members are refrained from voting on that particular issue. So just making sure that, whether it's a property decision, and if you feel like there is a potential conflict of interest, better be safe than sorry. So just making that known to the board and then refraining from voting. So is there any questions regarding the financial policy?
How do we proceed with that if we want to make changes? Does this come before?
It would have to be a board motion. So if after the fact, if somebody says, hey, you know what, that bad debt policy, we need to tweak it just a little bit with some of those values, maybe that $500 value has to be increased to $1,000, that would have, the next board meeting, we'll write that into the agenda of board motion, any discussion we had.
I think we should make a point to update some of this stuff at a following meeting.
Okay, gotcha.
Do you have a process for reviewing that policy, like every 2 years or whatever? I mean,
So-
just to kind of,
Yeah, so now we're doing it every year at this informational session, so we'll have it in front of you every year, so it's always relevant. We can always be reviewing it, making sure it's up to date. And that's the point of these informational sessions, is we're going over our internal documents, so we're keeping ourselves honest.
correct. But can the executive committee kind of do the first swipe of the policies
Sure,
and then move
yeah.
on?
Yeah, we can make sure that becomes a standard, that it goes before the exec committee and then to the full board at one of these.
Okay, well, let's schedule a meeting for that then, for
Okay.
the executive committee.
Okay, can do.
Great. Is that everything for financial?
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Andrew. Moving on to DDA year-end review.
Sure, so you should have the year in review. This is also kind of a requirement for us to make sure that we do annual reporting on the activities that we've been taking place in. Just some high-level numbers, especially from an economic development standpoint. We had 122 DD-related contacts in the downtown, 6 new businesses, and we've allocated the $125,000 budgeted for the facade grant. Obviously, not all of that's been activated. Hopefully, it will. In the coming months, but that's how much was budgeted, and most of that will be hopefully activated within our community in the coming year. Something else to pay attention to is what we've spent on like hanging baskets and banners, holiday decor. That's in the ballpark of $13,000 between the hanging baskets and holiday decor. Specifically $7,500 for hanging baskets and banners and $4,700 for holiday decor. The social district continued to have, great success with that. Hoping that we can get those social district sticker, electronic, or digital templates, give them like the rights to the business owners, kind of like what we discussed. So then DDA doesn't have to pay for all the stickers, in the coming years. We have 11 active businesses involved in that. And so this year, we've also bought just under 16,000 social district labels. So that's really exciting, that, you know, it's getting that much use out of it and really showing people taking advantage of that program, so.
Where are the active businesses listed? Anywhere?
Yep, so there are maps on our website, and then also with some of the material that's just circulating with the social district program.
Okay.
There are normally maps that highlight all the different entities that are partaking in that. So Nicole's done a great job making sure that that material's out there. If you want, I can send you over a specific map or add it.
I'll look at the website.
Okay, yeah. No problem. So the Manistee County cash, we've had $8,455 in Manistee County cash spent in downtown in 2024. So very exciting to see, you know, that stay within our community and spend, you know, in downtown. This year, obviously, streetscape's been a huge discussion, and keeping the ball rolling on that, making sure that we're getting a better scope than where we were a year ago with the F&V study, making sure that, you know, we're getting a project that's attainable and has the right materiality in it and is going to give our downtown the correct functionality and address the immediate problems in our downtown. So the streetscape's moving along. And something to really know in this too is the downtown event trailer. I thought this was really interesting, that total number that we've spent on that. So that's $10,247 were spent on that event trailer. And so that was an expense that could grow, you know, throughout 2025, depending on if we add items, you know, and we continue to really buy into that program. So just take note of that number. And that's kind of all for Nicole. Carmen, do you have anything to add regarding, you know, DDA activities in 2024? Obviously, some of those economic development numbers up top, like the downtown specific contacts, you know, I started in June, so there might be some fluctuation compared to last year's numbers, but that's just because of those 6 months that I wasn't here at the beginning of the year, being able to execute those contacts. So. Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Very well done. I think, is this published somewhere? This is really nice.
Yep, so that has to go in front of city council, is that correct? No, it doesn't. That's something that we use within our annual review for city council.
Okay.
It also is posted on the website.
We will be doing our review for city council in July of next year for both the chamber and downtown development authority and the economic development council.
Okay. Well done. Thank you. Public comment on these agenda items.
Could you send this over to Lisa Segala as well
Yeah, you can do that.
for our budget?
Yeah.
It is a very good report.
That was board member comment.
Was it?
Board member comment? Anyone?
I'll reiterate, Andrew, that's very nice, nice job. You too, Nicole.
I gotta give a lot of, I was gonna say, I gotta give a lot of the credit to Nicole there.
I looked over, I know what she does behind the scenes.
Anyone else? I would like to just say Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. See you the second week of January, hopefully, and in between. Okay.
And ladies' night is tonight.
Ladies' night tonight.
Yes,
Men's night a week
a
from
week
tonight.
from Wednesday, yes. So everybody, go home, babysit your children, kick your wife out of the house, get them all downtown.
And by the way, women are invited to men's night at the Alto. I'll be out tonight as well.
Yes, yes,
With Andrew and Bill.
yes. Tonight, the men are the DDs, right? And next Wednesday, the women.
No, so you gotta sit down.
Oh, wait, we need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Sammy. Okay, thank you.